on tight time frames tonight. So let's kick off, and we'll have more people join us as we go along. It's a real pleasure this evening to welcome the Reverend Eric Martinez Resley, who is the director of the Sanctuaries, which is a wonderful Washington, D.C. based faith arts collective. And Eric has been working with the PCM and with us to develop a plan to use the arts as effectively as possible to show unity of the faith community's commitment around climate change, while also showcasing the diversity of the multi-faith sector. And Eric was gracious enough to join us. He's on a tight schedule tonight. So Eric, why don't we pass right over to you, and perhaps you can share with folks a little bit more about the sanctuaries, and then share about the plans for the arts at the March in Washington for the faith contingent.
Sounds great. Thank you all so much for having me, and you in particular. You've just been such a wonderful collaborator, so it's a real blessing. I want everyone just for a second to imagine day of, we're there with the faith block, and there's just a sea of flags that are waving. These flags that give people a real sense of the unity and the strength of the faith contingent, while also each of them is decorated and kind of inflected with the diversity of every story and every tradition that is embodied and experienced in that block of faithful people. Well, that's our vision here. And so we have been very inspired, certainly by the Buddhist prayer flags, as well as by the great work that Interfaith Power and Light is doing. And at the same time, wanting to kind of broaden this idea to honor all faiths. And so that's where this idea for faith flags came in. I can briefly tell you kind of what we're envisioning. Some of it has already been worked out. Some of it will be worked out in the studio with the artists. But as was said, effectively what will happen is a series of local artists that are involved in our community being an interfaith arts community here in DC with over 140 artists of diverse racial and religious backgrounds. We'll be designing a series of natural elements, and those will then be screen printed on these flags, along with a phrase that each individual and each faith community is invited to then fill out and decorate with their own messaging. And so you will be invited this coming weekend, April 22nd and 23rd, pretty much all day, to come and help us screen print those. If you've never done screen printing before, it's a heck of a lot of fun, and we'll show you how to do it. So we'll be kind of cutting them out, screen printing them, assembling them. Then next Wednesday and Thursday, April 26th and 27th, there will be an opportunity to decorate them or pick them up. Of course, you can also decorate and pick them up over this coming weekend if you're available. And then we're also really hoping, after we have kind of created and packaged these, to identify a series of volunteers to come pick them up either this coming weekend or midweek next week, so that they can then be handed out at the whole variety of faith gatherings that are going to be taking place on the Friday right before the march and that Saturday morning. Again, the goal here is that each faith community, especially local faith communities, that each marcher coming in from out of town will have a chance to interact and really kind of help create their own art through this faith flag project. And so we're excited for the opportunity to showcase some of our artistry and the artistry of interfaith activists and artists here in Washington, D.C., but in a way that really empowers each and every one of you to also add your voice and kind of vision and symbol and language from your own tradition. So that's what we're hoping for. And of course, like any other thing, we can't do it alone. So we hope that you'll come through this weekend or mid next week, and certainly help us get those distributed on the Friday before and the day of, so the faith contingent can yeah, be kind of waving in the wind with these flags of prayer, of blessing, and of unity amidst and precisely because of our diversity.
That's super, Eric. Thank you so much. And for everybody on the call, we will, in the follow-up email that we send, include the information that Eric mentioned about the timing and location of the, which either Eric or Ali Tharp is adding right now. Eric is adding right now, which is great, and we'll share that information via email as well, so that you know where to go and when to go there. And many thanks to Eric and also to Ali Tharp from the Unitarian Universalist Community's Commit to Respond initiative, who's also been helping frame this up. We're excited about this, and we know how big a difference really good artwork makes. So, and Ali has also forwarded, and we'll share this, the link for people who want to volunteer in relationship to the arts work as well, so that we get a sense of how many people to expect and what sorts of things people want to be involved in. So many thanks, Eric. Thanks for squeezing this in on short notice today. Thanks to Ali. I'm not seeing any chats, or let me check. One question just came in. One question, Eric, maybe that you could answer is an idea, and this is from a faith leader from the Catholic community, Nancy Lawrence in New York, idea about the dimensions of the flag so that they can make their own and bring those to DC, thereby sort of fitting in as well as possible. Anything you could say to that, Eric?
Absolutely, that certainly is encouraged. There are some details, and I can look for it, or perhaps Ali, who has been a phenomenal collaborator on this, might have the link handy to post, because the Interfaith Power and Light also has a call for prayer flags, and they have specific dimensions that they're looking for. So that is one option. 8 by 10 is the Interfaith Power and Light dimensions. Ali just informed me. On our end, what I would say, especially to folks coming from out of town, definitely make and bring your own, and that in no way prevents you from also participating in this Faith Flag project as well. In fact, we would love to have a stack or two of these flags that you can then just literally fill out and kind of interact with and decorate day of. And that way, our goal is really everyone who attends the march to have some way of interacting with this art and showcasing this art. So these things certainly need not be mutually exclusive, but 8 by 10 is Interfaith Power and Light dimensions, and the only reason I'm punting a bit on our dimensions is because we want to experiment with a couple different formats to see what would be best. My guess is that it will be in the 8 by 10 range, but we're not yet sure whether they're going to be square or whether they will be rectangle, and so we just need to kind of work some of those logistics out. But please sign up with that link that will be sent out afterwards, as well as the link that was sent in the chat here from Ali to volunteer, so that we can make sure to get you some of the faith flags that we screen print over the weekend.
That's great. Many thanks, Eric. That's good stuff. And we'll, as I said, we will send out later this evening an email with the recording to this webinar and the schedule and locations for the printing, the screen printing and assembling, and also links to those resources, those informational pieces if you want to do it yourself at home, so or in another city before you come to DC. Let me check and make sure. Yep, I think that's the that I'm looking for any other questions coming in before we let Eric go, and I'm not seeing any. So Eric, many thanks for again for jumping in like you've done, and great to be working with you on this, and can't wait to see those beautiful faith flags flapping in the breeze. It'll be really wonderful.
It's a real honor. Thank you all so much for all of your work, and I'm excited to make art together. Many blessings.
Great. And we've got another sort of to shift in a related but somewhat different direction right now. We have another strong colleague here who's been working, who was instrumental to the march in 2014 and who's been similarly central to things here in 2016. Pat Almanroad, who has been playing a major role in terms of coordinating the faith.peoplesclimate.org webpage, where many of you have found lots of resources. And we thought it would be a good idea here as we come into the home stretch for Pat to share a little bit, give an update on the different kinds of resources that are on that page. So Pat, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Fletcher. And hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I would like to just sort of walk you through the faith page on the PCM website. If you're not familiar with it already, please get familiar with it. It is the place where we're posting all of the resources and all of the information that we have available. So well, as a matter of fact, we will be posting later tonight the information about the sessions for making the flags and the other art making sessions that are Eric just mentioned. So all of that will be up on the website soon. As Fletcher mentioned, the main faith webpage is faith.peoplesclimate.org. And from there, we have links that will take you all kinds of places, links to each of the faith hubs for the PCM, links to a page or a link to a page of associated faith events that I'll explain in some more detail in a minute, links to the main PCM transportation page and to a page of faith-based buses, the buses that different faith communities have organized or are organizing. And at the top of the page is a link to customizable bulletin inserts that you can download and use in the few weekends that we have left. What do we have? 2 weekends now? Yeah, well, is that right? Just one weekend, at any rate.
That's just one.
Bulletins that you can use next weekend, and you can adapt to your own needs. Some prayers and songs and flyers and things that have been shared with us by other people, and a link to a 2-minute video that was produced about the march that you can share with folks in your congregation. Another important way to keep up to date is to join our listserv. And if you'll scroll down on that main faith page, you'll come to a link for the PCM Faith listserv. I'm not going to read out the email address on this call because it's a little long and because I want you to go to the faith page to find it. So you can join that listserv. And that is, by the way, interactive. I know that a lot of the folks that are on this call are on the listserv. You can mail to the listserv. You don't have to just wait to be mailed from the listserv. So please share thoughts, questions, concerns, resources that way. There is also a link to our Facebook group, which you can find there as well. And a number of different toolkits and posters and flyers. Then I would like to draw your attention to the Associated Faith Events page. Again, there's a link on the main faith.peoplesclimate.org page to this page. And this has a listing of all of the events that we're aware of, at least, that are both preceding the march, on the day of the march, and then we go a few weeks, almost a month after the march as well. Events both in DC and elsewhere. So if you have an event that you'd like to make people aware of, please give me that information. My email is all over the faith.peoplesclimate.org webpage, and it's also at the top of the Associated Faith Events webpage. You can just email the information and I'll get it up as soon as I can. I think the other main thing I'd like to draw everybody's attention to is on that transportation page, because there has been some communication from the main PCM organizers about the buses. So those of you that are not taking a bus don't really need to listen to this, but those of you who are, and especially if you're organizing a bus, please be aware of this. The organizers are now asking all buses to drop off and pick up at RFK Stadium, lot number 8. And in order to do that, you'll need to get a bus parking pass in advance. There's a link on the Faith Transportation webpage to that pass, or to the website where you get the pass. It's www.rfkbusparking, all one word, .com. RFK Stadium is about 2 miles from the staging area for the march. And it's walkable, but you can also take the metro from RFK to the Capitol South stop, I believe, yeah. You're encouraged to pre-buy your metro pass, and there's a link on this same webpage for that. Please do that as soon as you can. The organizers anticipate long lines at the machines to get the passes in DC. If you are not able to buy your pass ahead of time, or if you don't receive it in the mail in time after you buy it, you're encouraged to bring $10 cash to purchase a pass there. On this bus page, we have a bus from Chicago that I understand is looking for other people. So if you're in the Chicago area, or perhaps in the nearby Indiana area, you might want to check out that link. We've got buses from New Jersey, buses from the New York City area, and one bus from Philadelphia as well. So if you're looking for a seat on a bus, some of these buses still have space available. I would encourage you to check that out. Let's see what else. There is also a link to the hospitality effort that Interfaith Power and Light has been setting up. If you're a potential host, there's a place a link to a form to fill out. If you're seeking hospitality, there's a link for that as well. So if you need a place to stay over, or if you have a place to stay that you can offer to people, please check that out. I think, Fletcher, I think you're going to maybe talk a little bit more about the day of logistics, so that might be it for me. I'm happy, of course, to take any questions.
Great, many thanks, Pat. And I'm looking for let me look for questions on the side here. I think there are some questions, but not that I see any related to the website. So, Pat, I know you have to go for a moment. Let's have you hang on for just a moment in case, sure. And give folks a sort of a last chance to send in a question, and I'll start to respond to a couple of the questions that are here. One piece that we wanted to remind folks is that as we start to line up at 11 and the march steps off at 12:30, that's going to be over the midday meal time. And what we're encouraging folks to do is, first of all, find a place to get something to eat ahead of time, because we won't be able to count on food vendors along the march route. They may be there, they may not be there, we just don't know. Second piece is we'd encourage folks to bring their own supply of water and a candy bar or a granola bar or some kind of snack to keep yourself energized through the course of the march. It is likely at the end of the march, when we get to the grounds of the Washington Monument, that there will be so some vendors there, but again, we can't be sure on that. So we would encourage folks to just plan on making sure that you're taking care of yourself and your group to the best of your ability in that regard. Let's see, another question that came in was about music and bringing your own music, and that's a good segue. I know that Cantor Rachel Rhodes from Congregation Rodelf Shalom, a large Reform congregation in the greater Washington area, and a wonderful and gifted cantor, is organizing efforts to have some singing, some group singing that will happen in the multi-faith contingent in the as we line up, because of we are not able to have a large sound system right there in the lineup area. So everybody get ready for some good a cappella singing. Because of that, and because it is likely that we'll have some singing leaders who are there working with the PCM Faith contingent, as groups are approaching, we'd ask that you quiet your own music down so as not to compete with or disorient those who are trying to orchestrate some coordinated singing at the as we do the lineup. Once we step off, I think it's going to be absolutely fine to have people playing music along the way, and I believe that there are plans for a number of marching bands to be playing at different junctures throughout the lineup also. So I would say absolutely plan to make your own music along the way in that kind of way. I'm not seeing any questions for Pat. And so, Pat, I know you're on a tight schedule and need to go. So any closing word that you'd like to offer?
Just keep up the turnout effort, and I look forward to seeing everybody in a huge and joyous and faith-based crowd on the 29th.
Great. Many thanks, Pat, and thanks for all that you're doing to keep the website up and running and to keep the faith contingent in New York getting energized for coming to DC also.
Well, thank you, Fletcher, and thanks everybody on the call. Bye-bye now.
All righty. So we've got a couple of additional questions from folks. So one is, do we know the location of the lineup along 3rd Street? And the answer to that is we'll be finalizing plans around that this week. The actual location where the faith contingent will be located is going to depend to some degree on how many people actually show up for the march. But it will be marked with signage and with banners, and so keep an eye out for us. And we will have a sort of lineup order that we will publicize on the faith.peoplesclimate.org webpage, so that people know what order they'll be in. And we'll be publicizing that. We'll put that together over the course of the next week or 10 days or so, so that we have that up at least several days before the march. There will be signs, thanks to Catherine Skopik in New York. There will be signs for different religious traditions and denominations. So you should be able to find people from your own community in that regard. And we will send information out about that. We'll put it on the website and also get it out through the listserv. Another question came in about bathrooms and location of bathrooms. We are, I know because I just signed the contract for them last week, because Green Faith is serving as the fiscal sponsor for the march. So there are plans for extensive numbers of porta potties along the route. I will see if there is a map in terms of where those will actually be located. We'll link to that from the PCM Faith page, and also include that information out along the route. But if it's not the case, I will find out more, and we'll send an informational email out about that. Two events that I wanted to mention that are taking place these next several days in Washington, D.C. The first piece is that this Wednesday, there is this Wednesday at 10 a.m., there is a plan for a multi-faith action to build buzz for the march that'll take place this Wednesday at 10 a.m. At the White House. We'll include information about that in the email that we send out to folks with the recording for this webinar. But I'd encourage you, if you are up for showing that faith groups around the country are really committed to helping lead in the march, that you'll join in that action. It'll be a way of sounding an alarm that The earth is crying out for our attention and for our care. There will be some exciting props. There'll be some gas masks that people can wear to demonstrate the importance of clean air and non-toxic air. And it'll be a good photo opportunity and a way of sending the message to people of faith around the country that that people of faith in the DC area are really stepping up. So that'll be 10 a.m. This coming Wednesday. Many thanks to Joel Novi at the Greater Washington Interfaith Power and Light affiliate, who Joel has been bottom lining that activity, and will be treating folks for lunch if they'd like to join for that. So that's this coming Wednesday. Then this coming Saturday, from 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning, and I can hear the groaning, but at Ecumenical Advocacy Days, which is also taking place this coming weekend. It's one of the largest faith-based advocacy gatherings in the country each year. That's taking place at the DoubleTree Hilton in Crystal City, just outside of Washington, D.C. There is a People's Climate March Faith Breakfast, and that will be free and open to members of the faith public. From 7:30 to 8:30, it'll be a great chance to get the most up-to-date information about the PCM and to learn more about ways that you can get involved. So we hope that you'll join us. And again, that's this coming Saturday, Earth Day, April 22nd, from 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning. And we hope that if you're going to be in Washington, D.C. for the Science March, that you'll come to breakfast and then go take part in the Science March as well, as there's plenty of time to do both. So anyway, that's the update on some events that are coming up soon. I would love to truly encourage folks to make a commitment to doing some added publicity this coming week about the PCM. It's our most critical week. We know from experience that an awful lot of people make decisions at the very last minute about whether to attend a march like this or not. Please email your friends, be active on social media about this. Really make an effort this week to reach out. It's absolutely vital that we show support for the march in DC. And I was just on a PCM call. There are, I believe, 294 sister marches that have been planned in different places around the country. If you're going to do something in terms of outreach, this is the week to do it. And so I'd really, really urge you to make a point of pushing for that. I got a question in about do we know about any security restrictions that might prohibit bringing a small folding stool with a metal frame? We don't know that. We're always hesitant about metal framed items because we know that that's a concern for security forces. We're not aware of any security restrictions about that. We've been told in terms of signage that signs can have poles that are up to an inch thick, and obviously more, the more modest those signs are framed up, the better. But I'm sorry not to be able. We'll look, and if there are security restriction informational pieces on the PCM website, we'll share those around. A question about the location of the multi-faith breakfast on April 22nd. It's at the DoubleTree Hilton, and we will send out the address of that and directions to that by Metro on the follow-up email that we send out. Not seeing any other questions. I think we've gotten all of the queries that have come in. We'll be sending out the email later on tonight with the follow-up. Thanks very, very much to everybody for joining in. We're looking forward to seeing you all in Washington, and take care. Make a big point of getting active this week, and we'll talk again soon. Oh, hang on a sec. We've got one final question coming in. let's see, a reminder from Nancy Lawrence that this coming Sunday in New York, that there is a gathering of why people of faith care about climate change at the Catholic Center at 20 Washington Square North in Manhattan from 3 to 5 p.m. All are welcome at that. I'll be speaking at that, and I know there'll be other faith leaders who will be there also. But thanks to Nancy for her work organizing that and making that happen. Again, that's this Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. at 20 Washington Square North in New York. Many thanks, everybody. Good to be with you. Look forward to being in touch again soon. We'll have our final call next Monday at this same 5:30 time. Be heads up for information we'll be posting on the listserv and on the website. And many thanks. Take good care and good night.